Welcome to another episode of the Chronicles of Mister. I'm Mr. Pierre, and I'm so glad to be joined by Destiny Rainey, aka Destiny, aka the fabulous Miss Rainey. Thank you, Destiny, for being able to join the podcast.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm excited to be here.
Same. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and specifically, being a person from the East Coast like myself, I know there are certain things that would be able to uh, jive with, but also now that I'm on the West Coast, it'll be reminiscent of like, oh yeah, it's not too different now that the two coasts are separated. But if we could start off first with, how did you get into education? What brought you into
That
education?
is an excellent question. I kind of um, found my way into it. It's not what I originally was supposed to do. I got my bachelor's degree in meteorology from Jackson State University. Yes. And I was looking for a job in informal education, like working at a museum or a science center or something like that. I did an internship at NASA Langley. I interned at this local science museum, but I just wasn't having luck getting into that type of job. And so I found myself in a career that I'm like, I'm not even using my degree. And I really want to be around kids. I really want to be doing something fun and engaging. And so I'm like, I need to go back to school. And I found a program that was offered. It was a teacher residency program. And I was like, oh, this will be my foot in to education. And so I ended up doing a residency program, a year-long program through Virginia Commonwealth University. And I ended up getting my master's, my MED in special education. Um, and so that's how I entered into formal education, like in the school system. And I started out there. So I did 3 years as an exceptional education teacher, and I was a case manager and did all of that. And then I landed in an English classroom, and I fell in love. I already loved reading. I love writing poetry, and I'm like, oh, this is just where I want to be. I know I was moving over from science, but I'm like, this is where I want to be. And I ended up going back and getting taking the praxis, getting my endorsement to teach general English, and I've been
Yep,
there
yep.
ever since. So it's been what 7 years now teaching general English at the middle school level, and I love it.
Awesome, awesome. So for anyone who's listening, and many of our listeners are in the same boat of started a career in one field and then transitioned into education, which was your case. And then also too, um, it sounds like, at least for myself, middle school is your lane.
Hmm.
That's the group of kiddos that you find the most joy with.
Hmm.
Is that safe to
Oh
say?
my gosh, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. People are always asking me, wow, how do you do middle school? I'm like, it's something like they just have my heart. And I think it's because I
Mm,
found out how to be what I needed when I was in middle school. For
yeah.
me, middle school is the time frame that I remember the most.
Okay.
And I remember being very like angsty and with anxiety and angry all the time. And like now I almost feel like I'm healing a part of my like childhood.
Yep.
Being in
Yep.
this position, like getting the hugs from my students, it's like it gives me life. It gives me
Yeah.
purpose. It gives me joy. And so this particular age group, I feel like I have like such a huge impact on them.
Awesome. Awesome. I was gonna ask what has kept you in education, and it sounds like it's the kiddos and the joy that you're getting from being with
Oh,
them.
absolutely. And like as I've, been teaching, I also found that I'm extremely passionate about social emotional learning. And so that's another part, especially with middle school, is this is the
Hmm.
time where they really need to work on those social skills. They really need to kind of learn who they are, and they're trying to figure out their place in the world. And again, I feel like with what I'm passionate about, with what these kids need, I'm really fulfilling this purpose. And so it just keeps me wanting to come back every day to do this job.
When it comes to the social emotional aspect of it, I know for a good chunk of time, well, not enough time during COVID, and immediately after COVID. It was social emotional, and that sort of has drifted away. Have you found that your school or admin has been like supportive of allowing you, giving you the time and the space to incorporate that into the curriculum or your teaching?
That's a really good question. So, the school that I am at happened to be an arts integrated school. So before
Okay.
COVID, in like around 2018, I started an initiative called Social Emotional Art Techniques Work, and it literally was combining social emotional skills with art. And
Hmm.
so at the time, my principal at the time was like really like a proponent. She backed me and everything, and so that was going. And then when COVID hit, it kind of fell out the way. When we came back, I started a few other initiatives. I started some clubs, but we now have a new administrator, and it's not the same. It's not the same capacity that it was. I am consistently the probably the one in the school who is pushing for SEL, who is creating programs and things to get it out there and to continue to show that it's necessary and it's needed, but
Okay.
um, it's not. I wouldn't say it's on the forefront of
Gotcha.
their minds right now.
I bring that up because exactly what you're saying is what I've heard from a lot of other teachers who either, like yourself, prior to COVID, saw the importance of it, was instituting it, working it. COVID hits and sort of blows everything up, and also puts a magnifying glass on how important social emotional is. And then afterwards, I'd say a year and a half, but by 2 years, it seemed like, oh, let's go back to the way
Yep.
it was before COVID, which in my mind is like, there's no way to do that. We have to address that things are different. They can be different.
Yeah.
And that when we do things differently, like amazing things can happen, but it needs to be sustained. But you need an admin that
Yeah.
is going to back you up. And even that's difficult too, because we know as with each fluctuation of an administrator, whether it's an AP or a principal,
Yeah, that's right. And
it's good luck.
it is. And that's why I just finished up my postmaster's in educational leadership in this
Okay.
past August. I am an aspiring administrator, and I really want to go into admin because of the things that I'm passionate about, and I want to have a greater impact. I feel like I've done what I can as a teacher leader, and
Yeah.
it's time for me to expand and to, be able to be the administrator that can say we need to prioritize SEL, things like that. So that's what I'm working towards next.
Fantastic. If you could speak to your younger self and say to your younger self, like, look, everything can't be a priority because if everything were a priority, then nothing is. But here's one thing, younger Destiny, who is coming into education, put this at the front of your mind. What would that one thing be?
I would instantly say boundaries. I would instantly
Okay.
say, Destiny, you do not have to be a people pleaser. You don't have to be a yes man.
Okay.
Because I learned in my
Okay.
first, maybe 4 or 5 years in education, I was saying yes to everything. I
Huh.
wanted to be that person that you could come to, that my admin could come to and say, "Oh, Rainney, can you do this? Can you do that?" Yeah, I got it. And
Yeah.
in the meantime, I'm burning myself out because I'm a mother and I have all these
Yeah.
other things to do. And, now at 10 years, at the point where, I have to put these boundaries in place. And I have to prioritize me because I can't pour from an empty cup. And,
There it is.
so boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. I would tell any new teacher, so that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
I'll echo it. What she said is exactly it. Find out because there'll always be something to
Yeah.
do. There'll always be more things to do. It's never going to be done. The work that we do is always going to be. There's going to be another cohort of kiddos. There's always going to be another thing.
Yeah.
And so being able to, like you said, make sure that your cup is full so that you can then pour from that
Yeah.
is super, super important. So I would snap to that as well and echo that. Many of us who are in this profession, we remember either an educator who, like yourself, was like, saw us, poured into us, and made us feel seen when a lot of other educators did not. Or it was the opposite of that. There was an educator who, for whatever reason, made us feel less than. And we've now become so like, hey, I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to make sure that my kiddos feel feel seen and heard. Did you have an educator that did that
I
for you?
did. So, as you can recall, I mentioned that I was in a residency program, and for the
Hmm.
residency program, I was paired with a master teacher. And so the teacher that I was paired with, Miss Valentine, when I say she had been in education at this school for almost 40 years, and
Wow.
she was amazing. I mean, she was known around here, and she was good at her job, and she was good at recognizing qualities in me that I didn't necessarily see. And really her passion and her love for the kids, I really channeled that because it was all about love. And that is what I focus on a lot in my classroom and my teaching, and the sense of belonging. And so I keep a lot of what she's retired now, but I keep a lot of what she help teach me. And she's still a mentor to me. And she would always push me and say, I see you doing this. I can see this for you. And so definitely, Miss Valentine. Sorry about that.
To
I'm
anyone
still
who,
at school.
no, that's classic. I know anyone who is listening to this and not watching the clips on YouTube is gonna be like, oh, I know that sound.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that sound. That's what's up. Yeah.
So yeah, I
So
would
Miss
say Miss
Valentine.
Valentine, and then the first teacher that I was paired with as my collaborative teacher. He was a general ed teacher. I was the exceptional ed teacher. He's an English teacher, and I mean, the way that he carried himself in that class, and the passion and the activities that he came up with for the students, I mean, it was inspiring, and it helps
Mm.
me even now as an English teacher to try to create those type of activities and those type of learning experiences for our students. So I would say, and that, his name was Mr. Walker, him as well. Those two would be the ones who really helped to shape me as an educator.
So it sounds like Mr. Walker, with his abilities to make engaging activities
Mhm.
for kiddos, and then Miss Valentine, who was someone who saw the heart of the kiddos and
Yes.
as well as in you, and was able to articulate. Because I think there are teachers who see it but don't then voice it,
Yeah.
which I think is really important. That when you see that in a kiddo, let the kiddo know. But then also too, when you see that in your coworker,
Yeah.
let the coworkers know, like, hey, you're doing a really great job. I see you.
Hmm.
Because I think often we we get in our own heads or just focus on the things that are not going well. And it's sometimes we need that exterior voice to be like, no, 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 you're doing well. Specifically this, and that.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
shout out to those two educators. That's
Thank
dope.
you.
If there were a book that either you've read, being an English teacher, um, or are reading that you would highly recommend, what would that book be?
Ooh. It wouldn't necessarily be a book for my students that I would recommend. Not right now. They
Uh,
need to be a little bit
Absolutely.
older. But one of my favorite books is A Return to Love
Mm,
by Marianne Williamson. That is definitely one of my favorite, and that just helps me to stay centered and to know that the focus is it always goes back to love. No matter
okay.
what the question is, love is the answer. And so that is one of my favorite books. And then currently, Mel Robbins just released a book called The Let Them Theory. And again, remember the people pleasing in me, and the wanting to control things. I've been reading the Let Them Theory, and when I say it has been a mind shift change and really helping me to let people do and be who they're going to be. And, it just takes off a world of stress. But that is the book that I'm currently reading right now. I got it on Audible and I'm loving it.
Seen the book. It's been recommended to me.
Hmm.
You are now like the third or fourth person who's
Yep.
mentioned it, either directly or in passing. And so I think I'll have to,
Check that one
yeah,
out.
yeah, check it out. Check it out. Awesome. This is the question for me, being a music head,
Okay.
an 80s baby. If you were to create a playlist, and that playlist could be 5 songs, 5 artists, 5 albums, 5 records, however you want to break it up. And now that Queen Bee has won her Grammy of the Year, it could be all Beyonce. Um, But what would be on Destiny's top five
Ooh,
playlist?
okay. So I'm an 80s baby too. And when I say
Nice.
obsessed with the 90s, I am
Yes.
obsessed. Okay. New
Let's
Jack Swing is
go.
my favorite. I'm like
Okay.
totally obsessed. I remember I cried about Milli Vanilli, but um I just remember that at like 8 years old. But anyway, I would say anything with Bobby Brown.
Okay.
Anything
Your
Bobby
prerogative. Oh,
Brown.
excuse me. It's your prerogative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not particularly that song, more Tenderoni. Um,
Oh. Okay.
let's
Okay.
see. Yes, Queen Bee. Yes,
Okay.
Queen Bee. I absolutely love her. Anything by her. I plan on going to the concert. This will be my fourth time seeing her. SZA. I really love
Ooh.
SZA. She is the same sign as me, and I love her. Um, Chris Brown. Anything by Chris Brown. Um,
Okay.
and I'm leaning towards some more 90s, probably. I'm thinking. This is a little bit hard. I was very much so obsessed with anything bad boy, but that's a little tainted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I feel you.
slightly
I
tainted.
feel you.
So I,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say I would have to have "Love Me" by 112 on whatever
Okay.
playlist I have because I don't know what it is that's in that song, but I still listen to that song to this day. And it makes me happy. It puts me in a happy place. So yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
That's tough. Him, Robert,
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Kind of hard for us
yeah,
who
it's
grew up
tough.
in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. But dope playlist, dope
Thank
playlist.
you.
I love the mix from Bobby Brown to Queen Bee to Scissor, Chris Brown. Yeah, and Bad Boy is a little. Oh. But that's awesome. That's awesome. This has been a really nice conversation. Um, and similar to that bell that was heard just a little while ago, we as educators, we don't have a ginormous amount of time. So these conversations where we're able to hear from each other and pick up these gems, and I hear the gem from you specifically. You're like, look, there's always going to be something to do. You got to make sure that your cup is full in order to be able to give
Yeah.
and still have some left over for you. Because at the end of the day, you're going home. Either you're going home to yourself or you're going home to other family members who need you and not empty you. So make sure that you're keeping some in your cup. No is a full answer.
Yes.
Hey, Mr. Pierre, can you do that? Nah, and then walk away.
I appreciate that
or
reminder.
or in the email,
Hmm.
no is a full answer. You don't need to give a whole I can't because no. No, and then leave it right there. So, Destiny, thank you so much for coming through on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.
This was, and I'm hoping we can have a conversation in the future once I actually get the let them theory and we can talk more
Okay,
about
that
that.
would be great. Just let me know.
We'll do. And I'm also looking forward to, because I know that there are others who are interested in that exceptional, um, what's it called? Is it a certification?
The postmasters that I got?
Yeah.
Yes, it is a
Okay.
certification. Yes.
Awesome. And I know that there are others who will be interested in that. I'm sure I'm going to get a couple comments about, hey, we'd like to know more about that. So in the future, I'm hoping you can share some gems in regards to that.
All right.
Excellent, excellent. Well, folks, this has been another episode of the Chronicles of Mister. I'm Mr. Pierre. She's Destiny Rainey, and we're out.
Bye.